Turkey has officially launched a military operation in northern Syria. This is what Turkey had already threatened to do following Donald Trump's abrupt decision to pull US troops out of the region, effectively abandoning our Kurdish allies. Now, the Kurdish allies do not get along with the Turkish government. The Turkish government believes that at least some of those Kurds pose a security risk to their country, which is why they are pushing forward with this military operation. Now, here's what we know so far. A number of countries have weighed in, including Saudi Arabia. Saudi Arabia is not happy about this. France is not happy about this. There will be a meeting of various countries who are part of the UN to discuss what the next steps should be. But we also know that this morning, Turkey, a NATO ally, according to Donald Trump, invaded Syria. The United States does not endorse this attack and has made it clear to Turkey that this operation is a bad idea. There are no American soldiers in the area. It's part of the reason why the military operation is able to go forward, because there are no American forces in the area. Trump pulled them out. Trump's statement continues to say Turkey has committed to protecting civilians, protecting religious minorities, including Christians, and ensuring no humanitarian crisis takes place. Just want to note that just the mere history of Turkey indicates that they don't really care too much about protecting religious minorities. But the statement continues, and we will hold them to this commitment. In addition, Turkey is now responsible for ensuring all ISIS fighters being held captive remain in prison, and that ISIS does not reconstitute in any way, shape, or form. Now, his statement conflicts significantly with what Turkey has put out. The advisor, senior advisor for the leader of Turkey, Erdogan, says, quote, in terms of the ISIS fighters held in prisons, which are closer to our border, of course, initially our priority is to provide security and stability in the areas we move into. We will safeguard any areas that contain these prisons. However, we would like the management of the camps in particular, something that has to be undertaken as a joint effort with the international community. So Turkey is effectively saying, yeah, I guess we'll help out with securing these ISIS prisoners, but we're not gonna do it alone. We refuse to do it alone. We want assistance from other countries.
Yeah. So as usual, full context here. One thing that I've now noticed is that most of the stories covering this have dropped explaining why Turkey's going into northern Syria in the first place. So I don't think they should go in. I'm gonna explain why not in a second. But if you give the full context, they're not going in there for their health. There are terrorist attacks inside of Turkey. They are done by Kurdish separatist groups. Some of those realistically are connected to the Kurds in northern Syria. So that doesn't mean you should go in. One, you're violating the sovereignty of Syria. You're making the Middle East a bigger mess than it already is, and several civilians have already died. And many people are fleeing the area, understandably so, because bombs are dropping into those cities. So look, on this show, we're consistent throughout. So I don't think Turkey should occupy northern Syria. I don't think Israel should occupy the West Bank and Gaza Strip. But when Israel ever does any actions, everyone in the American media constantly says it's because of the terrorists. They had to, human shields, etc. Now, when Turkey does it, there's no context given. Bad Turks going into northern Syria, just because they felt like it. No, it's a similar situation. But we're also consistent in saying Israel shouldn't occupy, and neither should Turkey. They should not roll in tanks. They should not do the aerial bombardment that they did today. And there are, I believe, better ways to handle it. I think we had a better way to handle it until Donald Trump came in here and screwed everything up.
So I have a question, because while I understand that Turkey perceives the Kurds as a threat or a potential threat, why is it that Erdogan pushed Trump to take US forces out of that region, right? Wouldn't you argue that the US forces, if they continued on, the Pentagon was able to continue with the plan that they had in place to create
Nah, so look, it's complicated. And so there are bad actors interspersed within the groups. So first of all, understand that Turkey does not dislike Kurds in general, okay? The Kurds are a huge percentage of the population. They're a minority, but a very significant minority in Turkey. And they are some of the top politicians in Turkey, etc. On the other hand, there is PKK, that's a terrorist group that is Kurdish within Turkey, and the Turkish majority has a loathing for them, which is understandable given that they actually do commit terrorist acts. Now, does that loathing then sometimes extend to other Kurds that are innocent? Unfortunately, the answer is yes. Does the Turkish government overreact at times? Definitely, okay? So I think the right answer is to give Kurds every right that every Turkish citizen has, etc. The Turkish government used to be terrible on that. They've gotten significantly better, but it's not completely solved. There are better diplomatic answers. Okay, now when you look at northern Syria, those guys who are fighting are American allies. They did fight against ISIS. Having them die now because America left is terrible for America, because it's not just about the Kurds. It's about, do we ever keep our word as America? When we say, hey, if you get our back, we're gonna get your back. Now, when we say to the Kurds, hey, you get our back, well, it depends. What mood is Donald Trump in? What tower does he want in which country? Or what different things or did a foreign leader kiss his ass or yell at him or whatever his stupid fickle mood is. So now we're gonna have trouble getting allies. But now when you talk about the Kurds in northern Syria, yes, they're heroes in helping America fight ISIS. And I put it in quotes because it's not that simple. Of course they're heroes for doing that, but that's also in their interest because ISIS hates them and would kill them as well. But do some of them help PKK do terrorist attacks inside Turkey? Very likely. So when America had a plan to have a safe zone in northern Syria, was it an awesome option? No. Was it the best option available? I think it was, okay? Now, does Erdogan and the Turkish government agree that it was the best option available? No. They're very frustrated at how slow it's going and how the terrorism inside Turkey continues. So they want to do a very Turkish reaction, which is get out of the way, I got this, I'm gonna bomb the hell out of that area and that'll solve it. I don't agree that that will solve it. And so I think it's a bad idea, but yes, they are reacting to those things. And yes, they think the US is not moving quickly enough. So now given that though, you still can't betray the Kurds. It's still a bad idea to invade. And so there are no angels here. And there's also like, Turks have some proper motives, some terrible motives. The Kurds have some proper motives, some bad motives, etc. Now let's talk about what we definitely know. We know is Erdogan needed the American troops out so he could start bombing, because he doesn't want to accidentally bomb an American soldier, then he's gonna have massive problems on his hands. Okay, you can kill non-Americans all day long in this world. You wanna kill Yemenis, hundreds of thousands of them, nobody cares. You wanna kill the Uygur Turks in China or put them in concentration camps, nobody cares. North Korea, Myanmar, Kurds, nobody cares. So, oh my God, if you kill an American, then you're gonna have massive problems on your hands. So that is why it was important for Erdogan to get Trump to move that chess piece off the board. And Trump, the idiot, did without thinking it through. So now he's moved the piece, he comes out with these statements that we've been reading to you for the last 2 days, where he's like, oh yeah, Turkey's great, they should roll into northern Syria. I mean, I will destroy their economy if they do something wrong. I mean, they have every right to go in and fight terrorists. I mean, if they're not moderate in their actions, there will be terrible consequences. God damn it, what the hell do you mean, you idiot? You don't know what you mean. Do you know that in 2015, while he was running for president, a conservative talk show host, Hugh Hewitt, interviewed him and asked him about the Quds Force. Now, the Quds Force is from Iran. They are Shia, they are Persian, and they're part of the Islamic Revolutionary Guard. They are against us. Trump starts answering, oh, I love the Kurds. And Hugh Hewitt's like, no, I'm sorry, Mr. Trump, not the Kurds, the Quds Force. And he's like, well, of course I knew that, but the Kurds are great, and there's one thing we gotta protect is the Kurds. Now notice, of course, he didn't do that as president. It is his billionth lie in a row. Also, he's an idiot and doesn't know anything about the region.
Right.
If you're a plumber or a dentist and you don't know the difference between the Quds Force and the Kurds, of course you don't. That's totally normal. There's nothing wrong with that. That's pretty deep into Middle Eastern politics. But if you're the president, you don't know who our enemies are, you don't know who our allies are, you moron of morons. So you didn't think that Turkey was gonna bombard northern Syria? What did you think they wanted to do? An incursion means an invasion. By definition, it means bombing.
Yeah.
What did you think they were gonna do, you idiot?
No, he knew. I mean, as we talked about on the show yesterday, his own White House put out a statement indicating that if it was a mild military incursion, then he would maybe be okay with it. The troops would remain. But if it was going to be a giant military incursion, then he would pull the troops out. So he knew exactly what Turkey was gonna do, which is why he pulled the troops out. You just explained that yourself. But one other thing that I wanna mention, and I alluded to it in the beginning of the story, is that not only are we abandoning our allies immediately after they helped us accomplish our objectives, but remember, there are tens of thousands of ISIS fighters in these prisons that are being managed and overseen by the Kurds. And now they're saying, we have to defend ourselves. We don't have time to focus on ISIS anymore. That's not our priority. We're gonna do our best. So think about how much that destabilizes the situation. And it's not just about Turkey, the United States, and the Kurds. You have all these other countries involved in Syria, in this proxy war. Now Saudi Arabia is getting involved. Saudi Arabia specifically said that the military action could have negative repercussions on the security of the region. So who knows what their next move is gonna be? This is a disaster.
So why does Saudi Arabia care? They now view Turkey as not an ally of theirs because they want to start a war with Iran. Syria is linked with Iran. Now look, the one part that we agree with as progressives is, let's get out of the area. It's not our business. If Saudi Arabia wants to start a disastrous war with Iran, that is their stupid idea and we should have no piece of it. But instead, Trump goes, oh, okay, Turkey, why don't you start a war? Then maybe Saudi Arabia will join in on the other side. And now I have a NATO ally, one of the top NATO allies, Turkey, second largest army in NATO, and my actual top allies, Saudi Arabia and Israel on the other side. What are we gonna do? Did you think that through? Of course he hasn't thought it through. That's why he shouldn't be president, because he's a child and a very, very dumb one at that. So look, one more thing about ISIS that Anna brought up. Actually, two repercussions of it. One is Kurds go, just today they announced, we don't have time to fight ISIS anymore or to really guard the jails with those tens of thousands of ISIS fighters. Now you say, well, that's outrageous. How could you possibly say that's outrageous? They have an excellent point to make. They're like, I'm busy getting bombed by Turkey. I don't have time to figure out what the hell is going on with ISIS. That is now a secondary concern of mine. The primary concern is the bomb about to land on my head. So very reasonable thing for the Kurds to say. And it's not their fault, it's America's fault because of Trump. And then the second part of the ISIS situation is, Turkey said, according to Trump in that call, that they would take all the ISIS fighters, that was the deal. Trump said, oh yeah, well Europe didn't take the ISIS fighters and we don't want them. So Turkey's gonna take them. And as Anna read to you earlier, the Turkish government today said, just kidding, we're not gonna take the ISIS fighters. We want the international community to help. We're not gonna be solely responsible for them. So what did America get out of the deal? We got nothing out of the deal.
Nothing.
Okay, as usual, Trump got played. Because he's stupid. One of his advisors talked to Mehdi Hassan, Stephen Moore, I believe, and said he believes Trump has 180 IQ. Lower. You literally take 100 points off that. I don't think he clears 80 IQ points. One of the dumbest people we have ever had in any political office. And he's making decisions that are leading to worldwide war.
And finally, even though the majority of the discussion on this issue centers around the Kurdish fighters in Turkey, in reality, the individuals who are really gonna suffer are the civilians in the area. And according to the International Rescue Committee, as many as 300,000 people are likely going to miss out on humanitarian aid that they've been providing them. People will be displaced. And this military operation has already begun. The bombing has already begun. So civilians are already dying as a result of this, and people are trying to flee the country for their own safety. So there are people, innocent people caught in the middle who are gonna suffer as a result of Donald Trump's uneducated and unknowledgeable action.
Thanks for watching The Young Turks, really appreciate it. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. You'll get to interact with us more. There's live chat emojis, badges. You've got emojis of me, Anna, John, JR, so those are super fun. But you also get playback of our exclusive member-only shows and specials right after they air. So all of that all you gotta do is click that join button right underneath the video. Thank you.